Welcome to It's All Comical. I'm Russ, your guy in Guam. This is a second It's All Comical in the It's All Comical series since I've decided to call my vlog It's All Comical. It's All Comical is not only a vlog here on YouTube and elsewhere or wherever it is that you're finding this video. I'm assuming it's on YouTube, at least that's where I'm posting them. But also it's my personal article series, and again, It's All Comical in, I'm not so funny, I think, here, because again, in the vlog, I'm going to be basically speaking, again, unedited, straight from the heart, not scripted. It's just a weekly check-in every Friday, as a matter of fact. Instead of saying really that this is vlog 2, this is actually June the 25th, 2021. And really moving forward, I'm sure at some point it will become cumbersome to try to number them week by week. So really that's the way to know it, I guess, is the June 25th, 2021 vlog entry for It's All Comical. And what It's All Comical is essentially all about. It's me, it's my personal brand. It is in reference to my work as a writer. I am a writer. You will find my articles, again, published on medium.com. And at this point in June of 2021, I'm in sort of a transitional phase as a writer, communicator, and I'm looking to, well, I have a website that was dedicated to sort of a previous thought about my effort to establish myself as a writer, and I was going to get into doing copywriting, and there's kind of been an evolution here, which has led to It's All Comical. I'm your guy in Guam, and the reason I'm in Guam is in support of my wife's job. She works in education. She works for the U.S. Department of Defense. I can't really take you outside and do any of my video because we're living on the Navy base here in Guam, and that's like protected. You can't make videos because it's an official U.S. military installation, right? But we're living here, not enrolled in the military. Again, we're in support of the military. My wife is a civilian contractor, and she works, here on Guam. I don't know exactly what it is I'm allowed to say about her job, other than it's an amazing opportunity that has brought our family around the world. I'm originally, we're from Texas. I'm actually really much more from the East Coast. My mother is from Jersey, my father from Baltimore, but from the time I was pretty young, we had moved to Texas. My wife is born and raised in Texas, and our son, whoops, there he is, reverse image. My son there, he's now 3 years old. He was born in Texas, and these kids are my wife's from her first marriage, all from Texas. But we're now in Guam, and the possibilities exist that as her career advances, it may end up taking us to other parts of the world. Obviously, that will become part of whatever I talk about. Again, in this vlog and in the articles that I'm writing, I'm trying to sort of establish a rapport with an audience, whoever it is that finds me tolerable. My God, what a crew you must be. Find me tolerable and interesting enough, but again, I don't know how. I'd like to believe that. Again, I have experience doing stand-up comedy. I'm primarily a screenwriter. That's my first love. I consider myself a storyteller, and I've gotten into screenwriting has been a primary focus, and in developing a fan fiction project related to screenwriting. I have a fan fiction sort of film in mind, and in making connections with visual artists in order to do the storyboarding required in order to realize that project. I made connection with a guy named Bill Morrison, who lives in the United Kingdom. And Bill and I began talking about, now, you know, I cannot pretend at this moment to be a expert in the comic book industry, comics and graphic novels. But Bill sort of expanded my mind into thinking in those terms, and I found actually that graphic novel and comic writing, especially given the way that graphic novel and comic industry has evolved in the last 20, 30 years, that it's even more closely aligned with screenwriting and the way that screenwriting is done to tell a story visually and through what characters simply do and what they say, and realizing that you have almost no access, or without doing something very ham-fisted like internal narration. But the majority of good movies, you just see what a character does and what they say. And comics have gotten to be a largely like that. We don't see as much in the modern comic the thought balloons. If you're kind of older school, you remember these sort of fluffy cloud, like those speech balloons that tell you what they're saying, but the fluffy cloud that lets you know what they're thinking. And we don't do that as much now. They kind of, even when you do get a character's thoughts, it's handled very similarly to the way it would be handled in a movie, where it's in a caption box, not a fluffy cloud box, but you get a fluffy cloud, floating above their head of what they're thinking, and you don't get panels and panels and panels of a character carrying on a conversation with themselves. You might get, one or two lines in quotations inside of a caption box that kind of maybe sets up a scene, but generally speaking, we don't spend a lot of time in narrative inside a character's head. And again, Bill is an extraordinarily talented illustrator who has got a lot of great story ideas, and he and I began to explore some things, and we are now working on a graphic novel, so he and I, again, my last name, I'm Russ Phillips, he's Bill Morrison, PM. Together we are PM Collaborative. I think it sort of naturally lends itself to that title, PM Collaborative, but also obviously PM suggesting, the night and sort of ethereal things and a little bit of darkness and the mystery of night. I think we like those that kind of imagery and what it evokes, and I think it sort of speaks to the kinds of topics and stories that we're interested in telling. The graphic novel that we're working on, and I can tease this, is it's called Windy City, and it's kind of a dark horror, science fiction, noir retelling of the Untouchables, Elliot Ness and Al Capone, with other elements involved that make that story, again, science fiction, noir, and I'll let your imaginations run wild as to what the possibilities might be. And I'm very excited about it. My wife, who has a long history, again, she's working her way up in education, but began her career, primarily as someone who loved to read. She began her first bachelor's degree was in English and in art, and she's an avid reader, and has been teaching English literature at the high school level for a very, very long time, and she loves what we're doing. She thinks that Windy City is, she's privy to what, not only the story, but she's read at least the first script for the first segment of Windy City, which will likely be in 4 installments to create a sort of industry standard length graphic novel. Is kind of our first major offering. But please keep an eye out for us. If you're on Facebook, go over to Facebook, look for PM Collaborative. My personal brand, again, I'm Here Your Guy in Guam. I don't know that we're going to end up having a very long stretch here in Guam. It may be that we're here for many, many years. Again, as I said, there's sort of an unpredictability to the way that my wife's career may go. But nonetheless, I think there's a lot about Guam that we've immediately attached to and that I love, and I'm very happy to think of my personal writing brand and artistic expression as being Guamanian Winter. So if you look for Guamanian Winter on Facebook, you look for PM Collaborative, those are the outlets, the pages that you'll find my work, or if I belong to groups and pages under those names, then it's nice to meet you. I'm Russ. So the point of this video, the video log, the vlog, if you will, right, is, again, to sort of be a weekly check-in, and it began on April the 20th. I did say this is week 2 of the It's All Comical, dealing with, I guess, anything having to do with comics, everything having to do with our creative endeavors. But also, the root of it began, and this is what I sort of started to say before, is in knowing that I needed to find something for myself that wasn't going to be tied to a brick and mortar, because, obviously, we came through a very rough year, as everybody in the world had last year in 2020, and so far halfway through 2021. I don't have to tell you about a worldwide pandemic and the shutdowns and the way that's put a crimp on business, and the fact that we're all, a lot of people are moving to at-home online forms of employment, and I've long been putting off being solidly committed to making my living as a writer, even though I think that was sort of obvious and in the cards for me, and something that I was encouraged to do from a very young age. And I've always loved storytelling, but I have a great, I feel like I've got a strong ability for wordsmithing. I don't know that you can tell it here as I speak extemporaneously and stumble all over all of my goddamn words. So about a little over a year ago, before the pandemic actually started, I had been working for a company in the healthcare in a healthcare-related field, but it had a lot to do with helping doctors with formulating opinion language and things. So there was a little bit of that was involved, and then came across a course that had to do with copywriting, and found out a little bit about what the world of copywriting is all about, and thought it was a natural marriage that I had been working in some industries related to health and wellness, a couple of jobs working in the health and wellness industry, and thought that was a good, a good synthesis, a good marriage that I wanted to see about exploring my options and as a copywriter for the health and wellness industry. Because it was sort of unexpected. I never fancied myself as somebody who ever wanted to work in medical-related fields. I don't think I had the stomach for it, to be quite honest. But in doing things that were sort of healthcare-related, healthcare support-related, the idea that what I was doing helped people was very gratifying. And I thought that was the direction that I wanted to go until... again, my wife and I and so that was part of an ongoing, I've been involved in mindset, trying to improve myself, and, a lot of things start falling into place when you kind of go down that avenue. Beginning, and I'm going to say that as it stands here on June the 25th in 2021, I have yet to really start in earnest publishing articles. I believe my goal at this point is to begin to do that in the near future, and to again, I've got a website that's tied to health and wellness copywriting, and I really need to bring it out because I've changed, I've shifted, right? This, It's All Comical, again, being about, me sort of putting myself out there and not writing for business, comes from having an understanding with my wife that she really wants me to have the opportunity to make it for myself, to do everything I can to make it as a writer, really focus on being a storyteller, the storyteller that I want to be, that I've always wanted to be, and hopefully one who you guys will appreciate, because, you know, I write, I hope, funny stuff. I like horror, and I like comedy. Again, I've done some stand-up comedy in my time. You know, those are the kinds of scripts that I mainly write, though the script that I've got that's out there, sort of in the hands of an independent producer at right now, who's been trying to put together the package to have the project done. That's actually kind of a drama, very sort of serious drama, a little bit of a thriller. I mean, there's a little bit of action in it, but sort of a very grounded kind of drama. But I look at, when you think about the dramatic masks, right? When you think of a theater, you've got that smiling mask that sort of represents comedy, and then you've got that frowning mask, right? That sort of represents tragedy, right? It's tragedy and comedy, but I mean, it's, those are the polar opposites, comedy and horror. And I believe that for me, in my mind, the way I look at them, I see them as sort of being very closely aligned, and especially when you think of comedy as being tragedy plus time, or putting some distance between, the darker aspects of life and finding that, that sort of, and the light, the darkness and the light, so those are the things that speak to me the most, and those are the things that I find that I'm drawn to the most. They also, kind of have, they're sort of similarly aligned, comedy and horror, in that they're both sort of directly involved. They're both they're both a means of expression that are seeking a very clear, visceral reaction, right? In comedy, you really haven't got, no matter what the message may be, no matter what your characters may do or say, no matter how satisfying the structure of your arc, a story arc may be, that you've got a proper 3-act structure, and that it builds properly and comes to a conclusion, and that you cover topics that are of interest and say a lot of substantive things. None of that matters all that much if you're not funny, right? Comedy isn't really a success if you don't laugh. And very similarly with horror, I think you can have stories that are, oh man, really well acted, and again, really well structured, and has a lot of important things to say, and da 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 da. And I'm not denigrating any of that. Yes, you want the very best examples of comedy and horror do all of those things, but at the end of the day, if you're not scared in the horror film, if you're not horrified, and you don't have that chill that runs up your spine, if you don't grab, the person you're sitting next to's knee or whatever it is, if you're not on the edge of your seat, if you don't feel something, then it's not successful. And I think I enjoy those challenges the most, and I think that's what you're going to find, hopefully, with me in my writing. I think my articles, again, I've got a few that I'm looking to get published, but I'm holding them for when I've got my website, I've got to sort of revamp my online platform presence in order to get all my ducks in a row in order to really get that started. But, and this is as good a place as any. I can publish these videos to YouTube and know that I'm not gaining a whole heck of a lot of audience out of them right now. But hey, everybody starts someplace. I am starting someplace. And that someplace, again, began in what is the ongoing here, as you might know, should know. April the 20th, I began a weight loss. And so again, as I talk about mindset, I talk about health, those are things I'm going to continue to talk about. I'm just not going to do them in a commercial business setting. I'm not looking to represent, to craft my writing for brands, for doctors, for the healthcare industry directly. I think, I may have information to share. But honestly, I'm going to be talking, I talk about myself, my journey, my life observations. I'm 50 years old with a 3-year-old son. That's, whatever it is that may or may not be interesting about me, but what it is that a half century of experience has taught me, and certainly, it's kind of one of those things where, if you meet your wife or spouse, in my case a wife, or you meet your spouse later in life, you guys have plenty to talk about until the day you die. And it's kind of what you're finding meeting me as a writer, who's kind of just sort of getting started at age 50, right? Is, whatever, I've had all this time for all of my life experiences and observations, and there are things to say. Now, is that what I'm going to talk about? Is just about myself? No, but it is the prism, right, through which whatever it is that I may be talking about, comes. And so, hopefully that it lends me a bit of a perspective that comes through in my writing. I thank you very much for following me. I thank you very much for watching these videos. So on April the 20th, I began a weight loss. And there are, before the It's All Comical, again, this is week 2 of It's All Comical, but that evolved from sort of seeing that I wasn't going to get involved in copywriting. And I wasn't looking to build an audience in that way. As a matter of fact, I've now discovered that as I live here in Guam, I cannot monetize even articles that I write on Medium. Because Medium doesn't support Guam, which is fine, which means that this effort and whatever articles I publish, at least while we're here in Guam, is there's a purity to it. It truly is just me connecting with you, whoever connects with me, deciding that, hey, I don't mind giving this guy, a little bit of my attention. Listen to what he's got to say. I'm sort of just getting rolling, and I'm doing a lot of stage setting. But on April the 20th, I began a weight loss. I did talk about that my wife and I have been doing it a little bit together, and that we paid for the Noom app. Again, I'm neither I'm neither promoting Noom nor am I critiquing it. I can't, I can tell you I'm only going to report what my experience is using that, but it's part of, again, an overall, I kind of look at it, a life reclamation project, a life rebuild, a life reset, a life reboot, whatever your recycled guy at age 50, however that works for you. The fact of the matter is that I've worked a lot of, as a lot of people who are in creative fields, aspiring creative people who end up sort of getting off track do. I've worked a lot of sort of service industry level jobs, even though I'm college educated, and which doesn't mean anything special, but I am just saying, like, I had these aspirations to be a writer, and I did put myself through college. So one would think, boy, you've been underemployed the majority of your life. Yeah, that's pretty much true. Fair criticism. But I found the right partner. After my first marriage dissolved, I began to really look inside. So hopefully I've got some perspective that's of value as far as what it takes to make a change. And hopefully if you're somebody that's much younger, if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, but you're somebody that feels like, man, I'm off track, certainly understand that it's never, really understand certain things, like it's never too late, and that you can do it. Whatever it is, you can do it. You can make the changes that are necessary to get you to where you want to be. So hang in there, follow your dreams, but take action. There's, as I go on, am I looking to become somebody who's looking to be like a life coach? Not formally, anyone who, look, writing, I think, in and of itself is kind of an arrogant pursuit, right? To say, not just simply that I enjoy telling stories, but you should listen to them, Everybody involved in the arts, to some degree, there's an inescapable, in my view, inescapable arrogance to the idea that, hey, you should be paying attention to me. Like, I've got something of value to say. I'm only going to pursue that at the level of, I think whoever this lands for, if you're listening to me and you're like, man, this guy is so full of shit, turn me off, man. Or if you know, if you have your life together, if you listen to me like, God, dude's 50 and he's been, you know, driving for a living for a lot of his life, you know, what a loser, whatever, man. You get to a place you get to a place if you're going to really take hold of your life, no matter what age, where you realize that, like, man, none of that matters, and there are things that I cannot change, right? I can't change that I'm 50. I'd love that I could go back and, you know, maybe make some different choices along the way, but no, I've got to move forward from here. Same with being a first-time dad at you know, 46, 47 years old, right? And now that he's going to be almost 4, he's still very, very young, and I want to be around for him for a long time. So again, the part of sort of rebuilding, you know, in a very Cartesian way, if you're familiar with Descartes, you know, the whole I think, therefore I am, cogito ergo sum, has to do with, you know, if you study the philosophy, if you understand philosophy, that was his way of sort of breaking everything down and saying that he wanted to construct his beliefs from a solid foundation. And the one thing that he knew, Descartes said, was that, you know, he experienced his own thoughts. He knew that he could not be fooled into believing that he himself existed by even some malevolent. Now, you know, you think about a thought experiment like Brain in the Vat, easier to think about it in modern terms would be the Matrix, right? Everything that you believe about the outside world could be that you are actually in a vat, and those things are being fed electronically into your brain. Everything you smell, everything you see, everything you hear, etc. All of your 5 senses are being reported to your mind, right? Electronically through your nervous system. And therefore, it is theoretically possible, and there, you know, hell, in 2021, we've got a lot of people who believe that it's more likely than not that we're living in a simulation. I don't know what that really even means. You know, why people, you know, it seems to me that people want to dig a lot for there being something very insidious going on, as though what's readily happening in perceptible reality isn't enough of enough drama and enough mindfuck. So, you know, I mean, I don't get too much wrapped, for myself, I don't get too wrapped up in the idea, like, I don't discount a lot of things that I think people, you know, we're sort of right to believe are just kind of conspiracy theories sorts of ways of thinking. But I'm not too concerned about things like Illuminati or that there are aliens or, you know, I mean, those things may or may not be out there. It could be that we're living in a simulation, da-da-da-da-da, but I think you got enough bullshit to deal with in daily life to make it interesting without having to resort to those kind of measures. And if they happen, any of those realities, you know, happen to be the underpinnings of what's going on beneath the apparent, they'll come to the surface or they won't. You know, maybe I'll die and never know that I was living in a simulation. But you know, I don't see any reason to not build your life according to what is right in front of you to the extent that you can, and keep your mind open. Right? That's maybe, you know, part of my message. But anyway, so again, the weight loss began April the 20th. I began to do a series of videos that I was calling A New Man. I was looking at that time to sort of build audience for copywriting in the health industry, and I've made this shift to, no, I'm going to focus on the creative writing, screenplays, the graphic novels, and then sort of make my let people get to know me in my own personal outreach, in life observations and things related to, you know, the building the comics, I mean, I don't want to put a lot of definition to it, but I think it's going to be, you know, again, my goals are to sort of continue to talk about health and wellness, and talk about a positive mindset, about my personal journey in weight loss. It sounds like I'm throwing a lot of shit at the fan, but it's a lot more. Hopefully it'll become apparent, and again, I'm a much better writer than I am an eloquent extemporaneous speaker. There you go, I'm a contemporaneous speaker. Those threads will come together, and it'll be a much more coherent message as it comes along. And you know, this is all of it an evolution. Here I am, another 30-minute video. Wasn't necessarily expecting to do that. So I began documenting on April the 30th, so 10 days after I began. And when I began my weight loss journey, I was at 265.2 pounds. I've been weighing in each week and documenting that. That's what this series of videos began. And then I've abandoned the new man, and now it's evolved to, because I wanted to speak about all of these other things, and as well as, you know, kind of, and then put it in the context of an ongoing weight loss. But understand that it's, you know, again, it's that, and then it's building business, and it's, you know, building, you know, strengthening my relationships, being a better dad. You know, it's really a total mind, body, spirit, and in all facets of life. Just giving it the attention that it's due, and being the best version of myself. And you know, again, I thank you for paying attention, or you know, watching this video. And again, if that's a message that resonates for you, if that's interesting, then I invite you to keep coming back. Again, I invite you to follow me on the PM Collaborative and on Guamanian Winter. You know, I don't want to say too much about the fan fiction project, because it is, you know, it needs to be pure, and I'm not looking to draw any lawsuits or anybody's legal interest. It's just something that I want to, that I'm very passionate about. So, you know, if you get interested in me as a writer, and you know, I certainly I'm looking to produce a lot of original work. But again, the fan fiction thing that I'm involved with is just something that I'm very passionate about, and have been since I was a very young person. And you know, it's another thing that kind of helps set a compass and a direction, you know, and it's part of why it is that I got. And so, you know, I think attending to my own health and my own weight loss is something that sort of came at the tail end of all of that. You know, it's a process that began about 5 years ago or more, 6 years ago now, with my divorce, and then meeting my now current wife, and sort of building up relationships as I have been in a much more authentic way, being a much more authentic and open person, which, you know, and again, I'm fine at this point. It's like when you reach when you really want to speak from the heart and be your truest self, and just realize, you know, hey, let the chips fall where they may. So, you know, again, please like, subscribe, all of that kind of good stuff. And you know, if you've got deep criticisms of me, you just want to poke fun of me in the comments, you know, whatever, man, have at. There's sort of a Teflon that develops, I think, in developing an authenticity. But you know, I really I hope you are. I hope you'll you know, again, I hope that I've got something to say that connects with people. So again, April the 20th, 265.2. Last week I checked in. Last week was like the 8th or 9th week that I've actually been doing videos, but number one for It's All Comical. And I was at 236.0 a week ago Friday, and this morning I checked in 233.5, which is actually up a tick from yesterday. I was at 233.1. But 233.5, so that's 2.5 pounds exactly since last week, which is a good, healthy weekly weight loss. So, you know, a good testament to what I'm doing with the calories, and a little bit, I suppose, of an ongoing testament. But I will point out 265.2 where I started, and 33.5 is over. I crossed this last week over the 30-pound threshold. So I'm down 30 pounds from where I started. I still have quite a long way to go. Hopefully you'll continue to follow me, or if you're catching this video, I'm assuming the vast majority of you, if you're watching this video, you know, I'm probably, hopefully, much lighter. You're finding me somewhere way down the road, but on June the 25th, I had lost over 30 pounds, really 31.5, thereabouts, 30 to 31 and a half pounds, give or take. You know, again, weight loss fluctuates from day to day depending on a lot of different factors. It's not an exact formula. I wish it was more of that, but you know, our bodies are sort of have evolved to adapt to calorie deficits and things. It also responds to your sodium intake. You can hold water from day to day. There's a lot of different explanations. I know I had a good caloric day yesterday, and still this morning I was up 0.4. And at this point, that's just you know, par for the course. You know, at this, you know, your weight kind of but you know, as long as you've got that downward trend, then that's, you know, that's ultimately all you're looking for and asking for. You got to keep your eyes on the big picture. So keep your eyes on the big picture. Believe in yourself, and I hope, again, I thank you for watching this video. I hope you'll subscribe, continue to follow me, and I invite you to come back each week. So until I come back next week, you have a fabulous week.